There comes a moment in life when you wake up and realize that you have been giving your power away. You loved people who did not love you back. You placed your trust in hands that only came to take. You opened your soul to people who only saw an opportunity to gain control. And now you are tired of pretending, tired of smiling when it hurts, tired of being used. Let me tell you something. From one heart that has been broken and rebuilt, this ends now. You are no longer available for manipulation. You are no longer a puppet in someone else's play. You are the author of your story, and this chapter is about power. Manipulation is a subtle force that often slips by unnoticed until it is already too late. It hides in the background, growing stronger each time you stay silent. Every time you hold back your thoughts, suppress your emotions, or swallow your feelings just to protect someone else's comfort, you give manipulation more space to grow. It flourishes when you are afraid to speak the truth, when you are afraid to stand up for yourself. When you choose silence instead of expression, the manipulator knows they can keep you under control. They know that as long as you keep quiet, they can twist your reality, reshape your perspective, and use you for their benefit. In those moments, you begin to fade, and they begin to take over your story. Silence is not always golden. Sometimes silence is a tool used against you. Manipulators rely on your silence to keep their power intact. When they confuse you, when they twist your words, or when they make you believe your needs are a burden, that silence becomes the perfect place for their control to grow. When you do not speak up, they get to shape the narrative, and they will make sure that in their story, you are always the villain or the problem. That is how they keep their grip on you, by silencing your truth. The truth is that your voice is one of the most powerful tools you have. It is how you communicate your needs, protect your boundaries, and express your thoughts. When you silence yourself, you allow others to make choices for you, even if it costs you your well-being. It is easy to believe that keeping quiet will keep the peace, but what it really does is allow the manipulation to continue. What you are protecting is not peace, it is an illusion. You are pretending to avoid conflict, but in reality you are giving someone else full control over the situation. And when someone else controls your voice, they control your life. Manipulators understand that the longer you stay silent, the more difficult it becomes to speak. They count on your fear of confrontation, your desire to be agreeable, and your instinct to avoid hurting others. They know that if they push you just enough, guilt you just enough, or act cold and passive-aggressive long enough, you will eventually shrink back. They know how to make you question your own judgment. They know how to make you feel like you are too emotional, too dramatic, or simply too much. And every time you retreat, they step forward, getting closer and closer to having complete control. But everything begins to change the moment you choose to speak. The moment you claim your truth, the dynamic begins to shift. They can no longer manipulate your silence. It is not always easy to find the courage to speak. Sometimes it feels safer to stay quiet, to let things slide, or to avoid rocking the boat. But staying quiet only feeds the cycle of manipulation. The more you let silence speak for you, the more it becomes a prison. You start losing your connection to yourself because you are no longer living in a way that reflects who you really are. You are burying your emotions and denying your needs in order to keep someone else comfortable. And in doing so, you are building a toxic environment within your own heart. Speaking your truth does not mean being harsh or unkind. It means being honest about your emotions and your boundaries, even when it is uncomfortable. When you speak your truth, you free yourself. You declare your independence from the control that manipulation has held over you. You remind yourself and others that your feelings matter, that your voice deserves to be heard, and that your truth is valid. It might not be easy, it might feel risky, but it is always worth it, because every time you speak your truth, you are taking your power back. You are saying that you will no longer be silenced. You are standing tall in who you are, and that is how everything begins to change. You are telling the manipulator that you are no longer a pawn in their game. The power shifts from them to you, and in that shift, you begin to take your life back. But reclaiming your life is not just about finding your voice in moments of manipulation. It is about making a daily commitment to speak your truth, no matter the circumstance. When you consistently express your needs, desires, and boundaries, you teach people how to treat you. You create a clear standard for what you will and will not accept in every relationship you are a part of. Manipulation cannot survive in the presence of clarity and self-assurance. It depends on your hesitation. It feeds off your uncertainty. But when you arrive with a strong understanding of yourself and the courage to articulate what you need and what you are unwilling to tolerate, there is no place for manipulation to grow. Far too many people live in a constant state of inner turmoil because they are afraid to speak up. They fear being disliked. They fear rejection. They fear confrontation. But the simple truth is that you cannot live an authentic life if you are continually silencing your voice. You cannot honor yourself while also hiding your feelings for the comfort of others. And the longer you stay trapped in this cycle, the further you drift from your true self and the life you actually want. Speaking your truth is not about pleasing anyone else. It is about honoring who you are. It is about being true to your values and unapologetic about your needs. When you begin to do this, something powerful happens. Your relationships deepen, your connections become more honest, and your peace of mind becomes steady and real. As you start to speak your truth more often, you may notice some people resisting. They may push back. They may try to guilt you into being silent or accuse you of being unreasonable. But do not be deceived. Manipulators will use whatever tools they can to maintain control. Whether it is shame, guilt, or even affection used strategically, their goal is to make you question your choice to speak up. But remember this: manipulation only holds power if you allow it. It only thrives when you remain silent. The moment you assert your voice, the moment you draw the line, you begin to break free from their influence. It is important to understand that speaking your truth is not about convincing others to agree with you. It is about being honest with yourself. That is what matters most. And speaking your truth also demands courage. It means being willing to stand in your authenticity, even when there is risk involved. It means being able to say, "This is who I am, this is what I need, and I will not apologize for it." It may feel scary at first, especially if you have spent a long time conditioned to remain silent. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Over time, you will begin to feel stronger. You will feel more confident. You will feel more in alignment with who you truly are. You will no longer feel the need to hide behind a mask or pretend to be someone you are not. And as you continue this practice, something else beautiful begins to happen. You become a source of inspiration. Your courage gives others permission to speak up too. You create a ripple effect of truth-telling, authenticity, and self-empowerment. So the next time you feel that familiar urge to stay silent, ask yourself who you are really protecting. Are you guarding your own peace, or are you preserving the comfort of someone who benefits from your silence? No matter how uncomfortable it may be, speak your truth. Because in the end, silence only serves the manipulator, never you. Boundaries are often misunderstood. Many people believe that setting boundaries is selfish, that it is something done by people who do not care about others. But that could not be further from the truth. Boundaries are not about pushing people away or being harsh. They are one of the most essential forms of self-respect and self-care. When you set boundaries, you are not just preserving your peace, you are declaring your worth. You are sending a clear message to the world that you value yourself enough to protect your emotional, mental, and physical space. Boundaries are not walls built to isolate you from others. They are shields that allow you to live honestly and openly without sacrificing your integrity or your inner calm. They allow you to love others wholeheartedly while also loving yourself in the process. Without boundaries, you are giving people unspoken permission to drain your energy, take your time, and walk all over your spirit with no regard for your limits. When you neglect to establish clear boundaries, you are essentially letting others write the story of your life. And manipulators excel in environments where boundaries are absent. They push, they manipulate, and they take from you without pause, always serving their own needs. They are not concerned with how their actions affect you. They care only about what they can get. And the moment you let them overstep, you give them the authority to dictate your emotions, your behavior, and how much of yourself you are willing to give. Once that power is handed over, it is not easily reclaimed. That is why boundaries are not optional. They are essential. They are the foundation of a life lived with clarity, strength, and self-respect. Boundaries are the clear line that separates what you are willing to accept from what you are not. And they play a defining role in shaping your relationships with others. When boundaries are missing, relationships quickly become strained, imbalanced, and unable to thrive in a healthy way. Establishing boundaries takes both strength and bravery. It is not always simple to say no, especially if you have spent much of your life trying to please others or worrying about what might happen if you stand your ground. But constantly agreeing to things and putting others before yourself comes with a heavy price. It costs you your inner peace, your valuable time, and your emotional and physical well-being. You cannot continue to give to everyone without first taking care of yourself. If you are always putting yourself last, you will eventually reach a point of exhaustion. And when that happens, no one benefits from what you have left to offer. Creating boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to show love to yourself. They exist not to isolate you, but to protect your ability to engage with the world in a way that is healthy and sustainable. You cannot show up as your best self when you are constantly sacrificing your needs. Boundaries help you protect your energy, safeguard your mental and emotional health, and remain loyal to your own priorities and beliefs. It is important to understand that boundaries are not a method of controlling anyone else's behavior. Instead, they are about guiding your own life. When you set a boundary, you are not demanding that others change. You are simply being clear about how you will respond and what you are willing to allow into your space. For example, if someone regularly disrespects your time by being late or backing out of plans, setting a boundary might mean you choose not to keep making plans with them unless they start valuing your time. This is not about controlling their actions. It is about respecting yourself enough to walk away from patterns that cause you stress or frustration. Your boundaries are not up for debate, and you should not feel the need to defend them. When you stand firm in what is right for you, you not only teach people how to treat you, but you also remind yourself that you are worthy of consistent respect. Your boundaries reflect what you value. And when you honor those limits, others begin to do the same. A common fear is that setting boundaries will lead to pushback, rejection, or conflict. But often, the opposite is true. Strong boundaries create healthier relationships. When you are clear and direct about what you need, others are more likely to respect your space and communicate with you in ways that strengthen trust. Respectful boundaries build stronger bonds. On the other hand, when you avoid setting boundaries, it often results in hidden resentment, emotional fatigue, and misunderstanding. People may unintentionally take advantage of your kindness or stretch your patience beyond what is reasonable. Without clear boundaries, they may not even realize the harm they are causing. But when you express your limits and uphold them consistently, you create a safe and respectful space for both yourself and those around you. Boundaries help build real connection because everyone involved can feel safe being themselves without fear of being taken advantage of. Setting boundaries is not cruel or selfish. It is about being truthful and clear. You do not need to justify, defend, or feel ashamed for having limits. They are part of who you are, and they exist for a reason. If you constantly feel the need to explain why you need space, rest, or protection, you give others the impression that your boundaries are negotiable. But in truth, your well-being is not up for discussion. You are allowed to have needs, and you are allowed to prioritize those needs. Boundaries are a direct expression of how much you respect yourself. And when you respect yourself, you naturally begin to attract more respect from others. You do not owe anyone a reason for taking care of your own peace. Boundaries are not a luxury. They are vital. Your emotional, mental, and physical space deserves just as much care as anyone else's. There will be moments when others push back against your boundaries. Some people may try to test you, guilt you, or manipulate you into backing down. They might make you feel uncomfortable for asserting yourself. But when you let others cross your boundaries again and again, you are sending a message that your needs do not matter. It is essential to stay grounded in your truth. If someone repeatedly ignores the limits you have set, it is not a reflection of your failure. It is a reflection of their lack of respect. And you are under no obligation to continue allowing that kind of behavior in your life. You have every right to maintain your boundaries without apology. People who value and care about you will not be threatened by your limits. They will understand that your boundaries are a sign of mutual respect and personal responsibility. And if someone consistently disregards those boundaries, it may be a sign that you need to reevaluate their role in your life. It is also important to understand that your boundaries will change as you grow. As you gain more self-awareness and evolve emotionally, your needs will shift and your standards will rise. What once felt acceptable may no longer align with the person you are becoming. That is completely normal. Boundaries are not fixed rules. They are reflections of your growth and development. It is perfectly okay to adjust them as needed. And when you feel that change happening, it is your responsibility to communicate that to the people around you. You are not required to stay stuck in old patterns just to avoid discomfort. Your boundaries can grow with you, and they should. The more you learn about yourself, the more confident and capable you become in protecting your energy, your time, and your heart. It is important to remember that it is never too late to create new boundaries, even if you have previously allowed others to cross them. You always have the right to protect your space, your peace of mind, and your overall well-being. At the core of every boundary is self-love. Setting boundaries means recognizing your worth and choosing to protect your energy from anything that threatens your stability. It is not an act of selfishness or rudeness. It is an act of preservation. Boundaries allow you to live in alignment with your truth, to navigate life from a place of strength rather than sacrifice. They create the emotional room necessary for you to grow, to evolve, and to stay mentally and emotionally grounded. As you continue to set and uphold boundaries, your sense of identity strengthens. You begin to attract relationships that are built on mutual respect, understanding, and acceptance. And by staying true to your own boundaries, you naturally encourage others to do the same. Always remember this: boundaries are not signs of selfishness. They are sacred commitments to your well-being. They are the very foundation of healthy relationships, personal development, and true self-respect. You should never feel the need to apologize for having limits. Boundaries are not optional extras. They are essential to your emotional survival. When you set them, you are not just protecting yourself. You are teaching the world how to value you. Real love, the kind that brings safety and security, will never make you feel anxious or on edge. True love should be a refuge, a space where you are free to be your whole self without fear of judgment, criticism, or manipulation. When love is genuine, it supports your growth. It nourishes your spirit and encourages you to step fully into who you were always meant to be. Love that demands obedience, that places you in a box of constant expectations, is not love at all. It is control disguised as care. Real love does not impose, it invites. It does not try to reshape who you are, it celebrates your authenticity. When love becomes about control, it becomes a matter of power. It becomes about who holds the authority, who makes the decisions, and who is allowed to feel seen. That is not love. That is emotional captivity. True love makes you feel valued, heard, and deeply understood for exactly who you are, not who someone else wants you to become. If you often find yourself walking on eggshells, adjusting your personality to meet another person's standards, then what you are experiencing is not love. It is control. And no matter how convincing it may look on the surface, that is not something you should ever settle for. When someone truly loves you, they encourage your individuality. They do not hold you back, they do not limit your voice, and they do not shrink your dreams to protect their comfort. They cheer for you, even when they do not fully understand your path, because they respect your right to walk it. Love that is rooted in control seeks to restrain you. It convinces you that you are not enough as you are, that you must change, shrink, or conform in order to be worthy. Real love knows that you are already complete. It respects your independence and sees your strength as something to be admired, not threatened. You do not have to change who you are to be loved. Love, when it is true, creates space for you to thrive, to speak freely, and to make choices without fear of punishment or rejection. It uplifts you rather than diminishing you. It empowers you rather than containing you. Control in relationships often begins subtly. It may show up as guilt, emotional manipulation, or relentless questioning. But over time, it builds invisible walls. It erodes your confidence and makes you second-guess yourself. When love is real, it is built on trust. Trust in your decisions, in your values, and in your ability to stand strong. In a controlling relationship, trust is weaponized. It becomes a way to monitor, to pressure, and to dominate. Instead of making you feel capable, it makes you feel incapable. Instead of giving you freedom, it creates dependence. If you are always questioning your own voice, your ability to choose, or your right to say no, you are not being loved, you are being managed. Love should never make you feel small. It should never silence your instincts or suppress your truth. If you are afraid to make mistakes in a relationship that is supposed to provide comfort and emotional security, then what you are experiencing is not love. It is a distortion of it. One of the clearest differences between love and control can be seen in how conflict is handled. Love creates space for honest, respectful communication. It values vulnerability and seeks understanding when challenges arise. In a healthy relationship, disagreements are not a threat. They are an opportunity to grow closer through openness and compromise. But in a controlling dynamic, every disagreement becomes a battle for dominance. The goal shifts from understanding to winning. Conversations are no longer about connection. They become tools for manipulation and emotional leverage. If every time you express how you feel, you are met with defensiveness, blame, or silence, you are not being nurtured. You are being dominated. True love prioritizes resolution over retaliation. It looks for ways to meet in the middle. It invites empathy and dialogue. Control, on the other hand, demands obedience. It enforces silence and expects submission. And in the absence of real communication, intimacy disappears, replaced by fear, tension, and emotional isolation. True love listens with intent, acknowledges your emotions without judgment, and works alongside you to find shared understanding. It does not dismiss your concerns or make you feel like your feelings are invalid. Love that is genuine creates a space where you feel safe to speak your mind, to express disagreement, and to know without a doubt that you are still accepted and valued. When love is real, it does not feel like a burden you have to carry alone. It is not something you constantly fight for or strive to earn. It does not require manipulation, strategizing, or the exhausting effort of constantly proving your worth. Real love flows with ease. It brings peace. It arrives without force or pressure. If you find yourself endlessly worrying about whether your partner is satisfied or questioning if you are enough, then something is not aligned. Control often disguises itself as concern, but is rooted in insecurity. It feeds on your doubts, amplifies your fears, and chips away at your confidence. In contrast, true love creates safety in your soul. It strengthens your confidence and allows you to feel at home within yourself. It does not require you to change who you are to be worthy. Instead, it brings out the best in you, not through pressure, but through support and acceptance. Real love does not seek perfection. It embraces imperfection, knowing that true intimacy is built not in spite of flaws, but through them. It does not ask you to suppress your identity or abandon your truth. It inspires you to expand into the fullest, most authentic version of yourself. In a relationship built on love, your individuality is not sacrificed. You are not an extension of someone else's wants or needs. You are your own person, And that is not only accepted, it is celebrated. You do not need to reshape yourself to keep another person happy. Love is not about disappearing into someone else's world. It is about showing up with your own light and allowing that light to complement the one beside you. Control, on the other hand, often operates through isolation. It convinces you that the relationship should become your entire world and subtly tries to distance you from outside connections and personal passions. True love does the opposite. It nurtures connection, not only between two people, but also with the world around you. It gives you the freedom to pursue friendships, to follow your dreams, and to live a full life beyond the relationship itself. Control attempts to center everything around its own needs. Love supports you as you orbit freely around your own center. In love that is rooted in safety and respect, there is no competition. There is no need to constantly earn approval or prove your value. You are not subjected to a reward system where affection is granted only when you meet someone else's expectations. Love is not a prize to be won. It is a steady presence that does not waver based on performance. In a controlling dynamic, affection is often used as leverage, withheld, or offered depending on behavior. This creates a cycle where you are left feeling like love must be earned and that love can be taken away. But real love, the kind that nourishes your soul, is given freely. It is not a tool for control. It is not conditional. It exists because you are worthy of it, not because you perform to deserve it. True love never makes you feel uncertain about your value. When someone truly loves you, they embrace your individuality. They do not mold you into a version that suits them better. They honor your uniqueness, and they encourage you to fully express who you are. If you find yourself constantly adjusting who you are, shrinking to fit within someone else's vision, or fearing that authenticity will lead to rejection, then you are not experiencing love. You are experiencing manipulation. Love does not deplete you. It does not wear you down. It uplifts, replenishes, and expands who you are. It allows space for both individuals to grow freely, not at the expense of one another, but in partnership. Love is not about control. It is about growth and freedom. At the heart of any truly loving relationship is trust. Trust provides the foundation that makes everything else possible. In love, trust means knowing you will not be harmed, silenced, or diminished. It means knowing that your choices are respected and your individuality is honored. In a controlling relationship, trust is no longer trust. It is distorted into surveillance. It becomes a means of limiting your freedom and questioning your every move. Real love cultivates trust slowly, steadily, and honestly. It allows both people to feel secure not only in the relationship, but in themselves. If you find that trust is being weaponized against you, that your choices are constantly being questioned, or that your autonomy is being chipped away, then what you are experiencing is not love. It is control in disguise. True love creates an emotional sanctuary. It builds you up. It makes you feel stronger, not smaller. It allows you to breathe fully and move freely within the space of the relationship. Love without trust becomes a war zone. And no one should ever have to fight for safety in a place that is supposed to offer peace. When love is real, you are free to be entirely yourself. Your quirks, your flaws, your imperfections are not liabilities, they are welcomed. You do not have to hide parts of yourself or pretend to be something you are not. You are free to open your heart, to express your thoughts, to share your truth, and to do so without fear of being dismissed, judged, or punished. In love that is real, you are not only respected, you are deeply and genuinely loved for everything that you are. If you do not feel free to be your true self in a relationship, if you feel as though you must hide, shrink, or filter your identity, then it is time to ask yourself a difficult question. Are you experiencing real love, or are you trapped in a version of it that is wrapped in control and manipulation? Authentic love does not make you feel confined. It does not weigh you down or require constant effort to sustain. Real love is not controlling. It does not demand that you surrender your autonomy or suppress your voice. True love empowers you. It uplifts your spirit. It encourages your individuality. It makes you feel safe to exist as you are, without fear, without apology. And that is the kind of love every human being deserves. Reclaiming your personal power is the first step toward regaining control over your life. Far too often, people move through the world unaware that they have lost touch with their inner strength, their unique abilities, and their true identity. They allow their environment, their relationships, and societal expectations to shape how they see themselves. They begin to define their value based on how others treat them, on the opinions of people who may not have their best interests at heart. But there comes a moment, a powerful moment, when you realize that you have been giving away your power. That realization is the moment your journey back to yourself begins. This awakening does not happen all at once. It begins with awareness. Awareness that you are more than the labels placed on you, that you are not limited by your past, by your mistakes, or by the doubts that have clouded your thinking. Awareness is the first light that breaks through the fog. It reveals how much of your life has been shaped by unconscious beliefs, emotional wounds, and fears that you may not have even known were guiding your choices. Once you become aware of how much you have been handing your power to others, you begin to see that the ability to reclaim it has always lived inside of you. The world often convinces you to forget who you truly are, the way you were raised, the relationships you have endured, and the critical voice in your own mind all contribute to this forgetfulness. But awareness cuts through the noise. It reminds you that you are not defined by anyone else's opinion. You are not trapped by your history. You are not powerless. The truth is, no one can take your power unless you allow it. This realization is liberating. It is the moment you remember that you are the one who holds the reins to your own life. The longer you live in a state of unawareness, the longer you remain at the mercy of others' expectations and projections. But the moment you awaken, you reclaim your authority and begin to make decisions that reflect who you truly are. Awareness gives you clarity. It allows you to recognize the patterns that have kept you stuck, the repeated situations, the same emotional pain, the sense of helplessness you thought you had moved past. These experiences often repeat themselves because you are moving through life on autopilot, unaware of the emotional triggers, the fear of abandonment, the people-pleasing tendencies, or the limiting beliefs that are controlling your behavior. Taking your power back starts with being honest about those patterns. It requires you to look at your life and ask where, how, and why you have been giving your power away. Once you begin to connect the dots between your past and your present, you start to understand that you can choose differently. This kind of transformation cannot be done for you by anyone else. It is a deeply personal process. It begins with taking responsibility for the choices you have made, the boundaries you have failed to set, and the versions of yourself you have adopted to survive. This is where healing begins. But awareness alone is not enough. The next step is understanding. You must look beyond the surface and ask why you have been living this way. Why have you continued to tolerate relationships or situations that drain you? Understanding requires you to revisit your past, not to relive the pain, but to understand its influence. Perhaps you feared rejection, so you learned to abandon your own needs to keep others happy. Perhaps you were taught that love is earned through sacrifice, that worth is proven by self-denial. Perhaps you stayed in harmful situations because you believed you did not deserve anything better. Whatever the reason, understanding your story gives you the power to rewrite it. Once you gain insight into the roots of your behavior, you give yourself permission to choose differently. With awareness and understanding comes the next critical step: setting boundaries. Boundaries are not barriers meant to push people away. They are the framework that protects your emotional, mental, and spiritual energy. Without boundaries, it becomes easy for others to drain your time, take advantage of your kindness, or disregard your needs. When you do not know your own worth, it becomes difficult to recognize when others are mistreating you. Without clear boundaries, your life becomes a canvas painted by everyone else's expectations. Reclaiming your power means establishing boundaries that reflect your self-respect. It means honoring your time, your values, and your emotional space. Boundaries are not about trying to change other people. They are about protecting yourself from situations that threaten your well-being. They are your way of saying, "This is how I deserve to be treated. This is what I will allow, and this is what I will no longer accept." When you create boundaries based on truth and clarity, you stop living as a reaction to others and start living as a reflection of who you truly are. Setting boundaries is ultimately about honoring yourself. It is the act of saying no to what depletes you and yes to what strengthens and nourishes you. Boundaries are not barriers of selfishness. They are declarations of self-respect. They lay the foundation for a life where you are in control of your decisions, your energy, and your destiny. When you create boundaries, you are telling the world with clarity and strength that this is who you are and this is how you will be treated. Once you begin to awaken and take this stand for yourself, you will almost certainly encounter resistance. Those who have benefited from your silence, your compliance, or your lack of boundaries may not welcome this change. They may try to push back, question your intentions, or manipulate you into returning to old patterns. This is the point at which your inner strength will be tested. This is where you must stand in your power and remain committed to honoring yourself. It is not easy to create boundaries when you have been conditioned to please others, to avoid conflict, or to sacrifice your needs to keep the peace. But when you stand firm and refuse to allow others to cross the lines you have drawn, you send a message to the world that you are no longer available for disrespect, for manipulation, or for being taken advantage of. You reclaim the power that was always yours. And although this act of self-respect may feel uncomfortable or unfamiliar at first, it is one of the most courageous decisions you can make, and it has the power to transform your life. Awareness is what allows you to recognize your value. Far too often, people allow others to determine their worth, through approval, through praise, through criticism, or through rejection. But when you step into your power, you no longer wait for someone else to define you. You begin to see your worth as something that is internal, stable, and unwavering. You stop looking for validation in the eyes of others because you have finally found it within yourself. You begin to love yourself without conditions. You stop believing that you have to earn love by proving yourself, sacrificing your well-being, or pretending to be something you are not. You begin to understand that you are already enough, exactly as you are, and that your value is not negotiable. No one can take it from you unless you allow them to. And when you stop seeking approval from the outside world, you create space to live your life with honesty, courage, and confidence. You stop shrinking and start expanding. You begin to show up fully and unapologetically in the world, living the life you were meant to lead. As you continue to reclaim your power, you begin to understand the role your thoughts play in shaping your life. Your beliefs about yourself, about others, and about the world create the lens through which you experience reality. If you have been living with limiting beliefs, fears of failure, or a mindset rooted in scarcity, then you have likely been operating from a place of disempowerment. To truly reclaim your power, you must examine and transform your thinking. You must replace doubt with belief, fear with faith, and self-judgment with compassion. You must begin to think like someone who is worthy of love, joy, success, and abundance. You must see yourself as someone who is capable, strong, and deserving. Your thoughts are the blueprint of your life. Change your thoughts and your life will follow. This transformation begins with awareness. As you observe and understand your inner dialogue, you gain the ability to shift it. And as your thinking changes, so does your reality. Reclaiming your power also requires releasing the need to control. Many people cling to control because uncertainty feels threatening. They try to manage outcomes, dictate timing, and influence people to feel safe. But true power is not found in control. It is found in surrender. It is found in learning to trust the process, to trust yourself, and to trust that life will unfold as it is meant to. Letting go of control allows you to breathe again. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of trying to predict and force outcomes. It opens the door to peace. Reclaiming your power means recognizing that although you cannot control everything around you, you can always choose how you respond. You can always choose what you believe and how you show up. When you release the burden of trying to manipulate every detail, you make space for your true power to rise. You stop reacting out of fear and begin responding with intention and confidence. The path of reclaiming your power is a journey of self-discovery. It is the realization that you are the one writing your story. Your past may have shaped you, but it does not determine what happens next. Your future is not fixed. It is created by the choices you make today. And as you become more aware of who you are, you begin to see that you have always had the ability to create a life that is aligned with your truth. Awareness gives you freedom. It allows you to take action that is rooted in clarity, not fear. Reclaiming your power is not about fighting against the world or forcing others to change. It is about coming home to yourself. It is about changing the way you think, the way you speak to yourself, and the way you relate to your own inner world. It is about becoming the version of yourself that you were always meant to be. That journey begins with one powerful truth: the awareness that you can heal, you can change, and you can live the life you truly deserve. Life will challenge you. There will be moments when you feel betrayed, misunderstood, or taken advantage of. In those moments, it is easy to turn inward and question your worth. It is easy to believe that something must be wrong with you. But that pain is not a reflection of your value. It is an invitation to reclaim your voice, your power, and your truth. When someone you trust misleads you or betrays that trust in a way that causes deep pain, it is natural to feel ashamed, disappointed, or even embarrassed that you believed in them. But being deceived does not make you weak. It makes you human. Every person experiences moments of misplaced faith. There are times when we trust individuals who do not deserve it, invest in situations that are not right for us, or believe in promises that are never kept. These moments do not define your worth or your intelligence. What defines you is how you rise after being hurt. What matters most is not that you fell, but that you stood back up with grace and courage. True strength is found not in perfection, but in your ability to recover, to grow, and to move forward when everything inside of you feels broken. You are not weak for having trusted someone who betrayed that trust. You are strong because you refuse to let it destroy you. The ability to stand again after disappointment is one of the clearest signs of resilience. We live in a world that often celebrates success, perfection, and control, but it rarely honors the strength it takes to rise after failure or betrayal. Being misled does not diminish your value. In many cases, it reveals your incredible ability to endure and evolve. We do not grow by avoiding mistakes. We grow by facing them, learning from them, and choosing to become wiser because of them. Each time you experience betrayal, you are given the opportunity to examine your boundaries, reflect on your values, and recommit to protecting your peace. It is in these moments that you begin to trust yourself more deeply. You learn to listen to your intuition, to stand up for yourself more clearly, and to hold firm to the truth of your own worth. These are the lessons that shape who you become. The pain itself is not what defines you. It is your response to that pain that reveals your strength. When betrayal happens, it is easy to internalize the experience. You may believe that you should have known better, or that you failed yourself by not seeing the truth sooner. But the ability to admit that you were wrong, or that you placed your trust in the wrong hands, is not a weakness. It is a sign of emotional maturity. It takes great courage to acknowledge when you have been fooled. Many people avoid that admission because they are afraid of appearing vulnerable. But vulnerability is not a flaw. It is a sign of inner strength. It is a doorway to growth. When you are able to face the reality of what happened without turning against yourself, you prove that you are stronger than the circumstances that tried to break you. Strength is not about never falling. It is about continuing to rise, even when it hurts. It is about moving forward despite fear, despite shame, and despite the lingering echoes of disappointment. Every time you choose to rise after being hurt, you build resilience. This world is not always kind, and people do not always treat you with the care and honesty you deserve. But every time you rise, you send a message to yourself and to the world that you cannot be permanently broken. You become someone who learns, adapts, and moves forward. This is true power. The ability to examine your pain, acknowledge your missteps, and still hold your head high is what defines real strength. You are no longer defined by what happened to you. You are defined by the way you chose to heal. In moments like these, when the temptation to shrink or surrender is strong, you have the opportunity to take your pain and use it as fuel. It is easy to become bitter. It is easy to let anger and resentment harden your heart. But bitterness does not make you strong. What makes you strong is your ability to transform that pain into wisdom. You can choose to let the experience make you resentful, or you can choose to let it make you wiser and more compassionate. The decision is always yours. With every step forward, you reclaim more of your power. You begin to understand that your validation does not need to come from anyone else. You start to trust your own judgment, to believe in your ability to make better choices, and to honor the lessons you have learned. You realize that you are not a victim. You are a survivor. You are the creator of your future, no matter what has happened in your past. Betrayal may make you feel like you have lost a part of yourself, like your self-respect or dignity has been taken from you. But those things are never truly lost. They can always be reclaimed. With every decision to rise, you gain more clarity about who you are and what you deserve. You begin to see that no one has the power to take away your dignity unless you give it away. You are not defined by the person who hurt you. You are not defined by the lie or the disappointment. You are defined by your decision to rise anyway, to keep going, and to never stop becoming more of the person you were always meant to be. When you rise from painful experiences, you are demonstrating to both the world and to yourself that your value is not dependent on anyone's approval or on someone else's ability to treat you with respect. Your value is inherent. It is permanent. It exists regardless of who fails to see it or who chooses to dishonor it. The very act of rising after being misled is proof of your strength, your resilience, and your refusal to be defined by what hurt you. Being deceived may feel like a wound at first, but it does not have to leave a scar that defines your life. The way you choose to heal makes all the difference. Healing begins with reflection. It involves allowing yourself to feel the emotions that betrayal brings, facing the reality of the experience, and choosing to grow from it. Healing is not instant, and it does not come without effort, but it is always worth it, because the person you become through the process of healing is wiser, more grounded, and far more powerful than the one who was hurt. Healing means letting go of the pain without forgetting the lesson. It means learning from what happened so that you do not repeat the same patterns. It is not simply about avoiding future mistakes. It is about evolving into someone who sees more clearly, who knows their worth more deeply, and who lives with greater intention. When you heal fully, you do not just recover. You rise. You rise stronger than ever. And that strength comes from the power you have always carried inside of you. You are not required to remain in the past. You are not obligated to carry betrayal with you as a burden. You are allowed to release it and to rise above it. The path to healing is not smooth. It is not predictable. It can be messy, filled with unexpected emotions and difficult setbacks. But each step you take, even the smallest one, moves you closer to the person you were always capable of becoming. Every time you pick yourself up after being brought low, you prove that you are not defined by what has happened to you. You begin to realize that your power is not something you need to earn. It already belongs to you. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself to anyone. The fact that you are still standing, still growing, and still rising is more than enough. You stop allowing the opinions of others or the mistakes of the past to influence your sense of worth. You take ownership of your life. With every rise, you become more unshakable. You become more certain of your value, more clear about your boundaries, and more unwilling to accept anything less than respect and honesty. You are not weak for having been deceived. You are powerful because you continue to rise, regardless of how many times you fall. Each time you do, you affirm your strength. You prove to yourself that you are capable of overcoming whatever life puts in your way. That strength cannot be taken from you because it does not come from the outside. It comes from within. It is the quiet, steady power that lives in your spirit. The belief that no matter what happens, you will rise again. That is what makes you unbreakable. Life will test you. Sometimes those tests will come in the form of betrayal, dishonesty, or manipulation. It is easy in those moments to feel broken, to doubt yourself, and to wonder how you allowed someone to mislead you. But being fooled does not mean you are foolish. It means you are human. Every one of us faces situations where our trust is misplaced. We all encounter people who show us one version of themselves, only to later reveal another. The real measure of strength is not in avoiding deception. It is in the way you respond after it happens. It is in your willingness to get back up, to learn, and to move forward with more clarity than before. Each time you rise, you grow stronger. You gain insight into what you value, what you deserve, and what you are no longer willing to tolerate. These experiences are not setbacks. They are teachers. They guide you toward a deeper understanding of yourself and of how you wish to live. Rising after being hurt does not mean you forget the pain. It means you choose not to let the pain define you. You do not allow resentment to consume you. You choose peace over bitterness. You step into your power not by avoiding pain, but by choosing to rise anyway. No one can take your dignity from you unless you allow it. The ability to rise, to reclaim your peace, and to live with purpose belongs to you. You do not need permission. You are already enough. Your strength is not measured by how untouched you are by hardship, but by your capacity to transform it. That transformation requires courage. It requires deep reflection, honesty, and the willingness to face what is difficult. But through that work, you become someone who is no longer shaken by deception. You become someone who knows exactly who they are. You begin to protect your peace, establish your boundaries, and hold yourself with a level of self-respect that no one can diminish. The fact that you can rise from pain and rebuild a life of strength, purpose, and peace is proof that you are capable of far more than you once believed. As you continue to move forward, remember that you are not defined by the moments in which you were deceived. You are defined by the moments in which you stood up, moved forward, and claimed your power again. Healing and transformation are not easy, but they are always possible. They are always within your reach. And when you choose to rise, even when you feel like falling, you reveal the extraordinary power that has always been within you. You are resilient, you are strong, and you are capable of creating a life that reflects your worth. The strength you show in rising again and again is a testament to who you are. Your path belongs to you. Every step you take brings you closer to the person you were meant to become. Trust in that journey. Trust in yourself. Know that no matter what comes your way, you have the power to rise above it. May you never forget your strength. May you never forget the light within you that cannot be extinguished. And may you continue to rise again and again in the fullness of who you truly are.